$8 trillion printed. And you didn't see a dime of it. It's not a glitch. It's the way the system is designed. While headlines scream about a booming economy and rising stock prices, here's the truth. Only a tiny group of people are benefiting from all of this. The rest, you're being left behind. And here's where it gets wild. What you're seeing on the news is the exact opposite of what's really happening. Stick around, because what you're about to find out is going to turn everything you know upside down. Everyone's talking about the recovery of the economy, but something doesn't add up here. You see, while GDP numbers and stock indexes keep rising, a large chunk of the US population isn't seeing any of that growth. And there's one terrifying statistic. The top 10% of Americans are responsible for nearly half of all consumer spending, meaning when they talk about a strong economy, they're really talking about theirs, not yours. So if the economy is so strong, why don't you feel it? Here's something most people don't realize. The economy isn't something we all share equally. In fact, there's a stark divide between those profiting and those left behind. Take a look at this number. 1% of the population owns 30% of the nation's wealth. Yes, a small fraction of this country owns nearly a third of everything. And the world they live in isn't the same world you're experiencing. But there's one crucial detail you need to understand. When the wealthy see profits, you see rents going up. Do you notice what's missing? That's the question that makes everything clear. But here's where it gets worse. This story is escalating quickly, and it might make you rethink the economy you're living in. Look at what's happening in the housing market. A major shift has occurred in the way landlords are pricing rents. Enter RealPage, a company that built a software system that helps landlords raise prices simultaneously. This rising tide of rent hikes isn't some accidental agreement. It's a system, a mechanism designed to force renters to pay higher prices. And here's what's scary. While the rich profit from their investments, workers face wages that can barely cover the basics. As you work harder, rent, education, healthcare, and food costs continue to rise. So the question is, when does this all stop? But this gets even darker. We're not just talking about rent, we're talking about a financial system built to sustain this injustice. Let me explain. The act of printing money doesn't just make the rich wealthier. It creates wealth in a way most people can't even see. $8 trillion was printed, and instead of helping workers, it was pumped into the stock market and real estate, where the rich were the only ones able to benefit. This isn't an accident. This is how the system is designed, so the rich get richer and everyone else gets squeezed. Do you see the full picture yet? Now let's look at how this all stacks up in real life. What happens when an unexpected cost hits a worker's life? 40% of Americans can't cover a $400 emergency without borrowing money or selling something. That's right. If your car breaks down or you need to pay for an unexpected medical bill, it's not just an inconvenience, it's a full-blown financial crisis. Then, when these costs pile up, workers are forced to turn to debt. Credit cards with 22% interest, payday loans at 400% APR, or buy now, pay later schemes with hidden fees. This isn't a failure of individual responsibility. This is structural design. What happens if this continues? And now we need to talk about you, because this isn't just economic theory. This is real life, and it's affecting people like you. You've heard the term living paycheck to paycheck, right? With 40% of Americans unable to cover a $400 emergency, it's not just a small inconvenience. It's a way of life that relies on debt. And here's where things get really concerning. While your wages might increase by 4%, what you can actually buy keeps getting smaller. If you see yourself in this story, let me know in the comments. This isn't just data anymore. This is real people living through it. So what's really going on here? This isn't an accident. It's a system built to keep things in control for a small group. Behind this injustice are powerful mechanisms, leverage, incentives, and even the major events you'll never fully understand. Think about how money has been printed for over a decade. Every time the Federal Reserve prints money, the so-called economic rescue is really just transferring money from workers' pockets into the hands of the already wealthy. This is how the rules have been set up, to make the rich richer while the rest of us just try to keep up. What we call the economy is actually a rigged game, and the odds are always stacked against you. So what happens next? We're at a crossroads. One path leads us toward even greater inequality, economic crashes, and more crises. The wealthy will protect their assets while the rest of us suffer. The other path, a potential awakening people realizing what's really happening, rising up against a system designed to keep them down. It could spark a massive shift. What happens when the people who've been left behind start to demand change? In the end, here's what you need to understand. What we call the economy isn't an equal system. It's a game designed from the start to benefit a select few, while everyone else is left to struggle. But here's the important part to remember. This system isn't permanent. It can continue for a while, but eventually things will break. The more people understand how this works, the harder it becomes to keep it hidden. If you've learned something today, don't keep it to yourself. Share this, because these mechanisms survive on ignorance. The system works because most people don't understand how it works. If you want more analysis like this, don't forget to follow and join us for the next video.